Hey guys, how you doing? This is Caleb Dirksen, and I'm still hard at work doing my episode on Hamster and Gretel episode 7, The Opposite of Smart and Birthday Besties, but while I'm doing so, I figured I'd give out some news on the Phineas and Ferb revival, Dan Povenmire's upcoming contributions to Big City Greens, the Hamster and Gretel episodes airing in October, and the chaotic headlines of Caleb's Catch of the Week. In other words, it's time for a Danville Discussion News episode. Now, recently, there's been more news about the upcoming Phineas and Ferb revival as confirmed through Dan Povenmire's TikTok, in which he confirmed that they wrote the first song for the new season, which is titled The Song of the Summer, and next he showed himself in the recording booth recording his first batch of new lines as Dr. Doofenshmirtz, meaning that recording has officially begun. Let's start with my points regarding the former and play the clip first.
So we just wrote the first song of the reboot of Phineas and Ferb. And what is it called?
The Song of the Summer.
And why is it the Song of the Summer?
Because we're saying it is.
That's exactly right.
So that's the video where Dan has his songwriting team, including Jeff Swampy Marsh. And first off, I'm going to start with the reboot aspect. I've heard it could be a revival similar to the recent season of Futurama, but when Dan said reboot, I felt slightly confused. By that logic, it could end up being another one of those reboots similar to Animaniacs and the Proud Family Louder and Prouder, where they reset the timeline and change things around a bit, even visually. Like, if he just said revival, it would make more sense, because from what I'm hearing out of this, with the Song of the Summer title, it is giving me a little bit more of an idea of when these new seasons are going to take place. In that case, the revival might take place 1 year after the original 4 seasons, where it's a whole new summer. So I doubt that it's like they're going to reset the summer all the way back, especially as more evident in this next TikTok right over here, where Dan is recording his first lines as Dr. Doofenshmirtz for Season 5, as declared by himself. In fact, let's play the clip right now.
Okay, this is officially the first Doofenshmirtz line from Season 5 of Phineas and Ferb. We're doing new stuff. This is our first record day. And line 50, you guys ready? There he is! Welcome, Perry the Platypus. It has been too long. Come in. Mi casa es you casa. Can I get you anything? Lemonade, veggie dip, a trap? There you go. We're back, baby.
If I could give out my thoughts on the second one, admittedly, I found that dialogue pretty hilarious, the way Doof said, "Can I get you anything? Lemonade, veggie dip, a trap?" Though I don't really know what the true context is behind the "it has been too long" part yet. Maybe it's a meta joke making fun of the fact that this is a revival of a show that ended nearly a decade ago, as well as the fact that the last piece of actual Phineas and Ferb related media we got was the Candace Against the Universe movie back in 2020. Or maybe it could be that Doof hasn't seen Perry in a long time, probably since the last appearance that Doof was in chronologically in the present timeline, which was in the last episode of Milo Murphy's Law, Fear and Loathing in Outer Space. So I'm guessing that between that show and this new season, Milo and his friends made it back to Earth safely, and Doof finally got his building back after living with the Murphys for a long while, and Perry's been on break ever since. Therefore, Season 5 of Phineas could be set after the events of Milo Murphy's Law. Finally, the trap set for Perry and Doof's evil laugh. Does that signify that Doof is going back to evil? if it is going to be set 1 year later, I want to know if he's still going to continue his journey to becoming good, maybe even continuing his Professor Time arc, or if he's going to do a 180 and go back to doing evil deeds. If it is the latter, I really do hope that it's not in a way that it retcons anything that happened in Milo Murphy's Law. It can retcon the Alka File, since I never really cared about that special, but I personally hope it doesn't retcon anything in Milo because, I know there are people who weren't very happy with the decision to make Doofenshmirtz a main character in there, but if Disney still refuses to renew Milo for a third season, they should at least give it some representation in these new Phineas and Ferb seasons, like they did with Hamster and Gretel, Chibiverse, and Candace Against the Universe, since Dan is still very proud of Milo as much as the other two. But who knows? We'll only know for sure how this is all going to play out when Season 5 of Phineas and Ferb airs on Disney Channel and Disney Plus next year. Now, on to our next story. This is something I did not expect to happen on another Disney television animation show, but apparently Dan Povenmire is going to not only guest star in a future episode of, but also write a song for Season 4 of Big City Greens. His guest star appearance will be in the episode Guiding Gregly. This was all confirmed in an interview posted on my source here at The Laughing Place, among the rest of the guest list, including Michael Bolton, June Diane Raphael, Tom Green, and I'm not even going to speak of his role in Freddy Got Fingered, Brad Marchand, Margot Martindale, Justin McElroy, Tim Meadows, Dean Norris, Miss Pat, Tim Robinson, Paul Scheer, Amy Sedaris, and Trevor Wallace. Though this is not the first time Dan ever got to be involved with Big City Greens, since he got to make some prank calls to the Green family on Disney Channel's Random Rings when he reprised his role as Dr. Doofenshmirtz for that series. Now, for my thoughts on Big City Greens itself, I've seen some episodes of it, and it is a pretty good show in my opinion. I'm currently halfway through Season 1 on Disney Plus now, and it is going to be a while until I've caught up, since the first 2 seasons of Big City Greens have 30 half-hour episodes, and Season 3 has 20. And with the fact that it's also getting a movie in the future, I can see how it is one of the biggest Disney shows alongside Phineas and Ferb. When I have gotten to Season 4, I'll see what Dan Povenmire has in store for his guest appearance in Guiding Gregly and his guest songwriting role for this particular season. I mean, it's not every day that you have a big creator at Disney Television Animation voicing a character outside of their own shows, since Alex Hirsch has done that too, like outside of voicing Grunkle Stan, Seuss, and Bill Cipher in Gravity Falls, he has voiced Officer Concord, the box of grape juice, in the Phineas and Ferb episode Terrifying Tri-State Trilogy of Terror, King in the Owl House, and the Curator and Frog Seuss, which are the frog versions of Stan and Seuss, in the Amphibia and Gravity Falls crossover episode Wax Museum. But anyways, as I am recording this, it is a little early, but if you're hearing this at the time this will be out to the public and you're curious to know what Dan Povenmire will be doing for Big City Greens, then all you have to do is wait a while later after Season 4 premieres tonight, which is Saturday, September 23rd at 8 p.m. Eastern Pacific on Disney Channel, and keep watching beyond that point. Now, our next subject is Hamster and Gretel, and starting next month, in October, Disney Channel is going to be airing all the remaining episodes of Season 1, possibly all the way through November. And as usual, these new episodes will be airing every Saturday morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Pacific. From my source on the Disney Beat on Twitter X, I have the episode title, synopsis, and air dates listed. So, on Saturday, October 14th, we have Nano a Nano. On a school trip to a robot factory, Gretel encounters a nanobot. The Ultimate History of Dr. Medusasaurus. Gretel and Bailey meet a strange paleontologist at a museum. Then afterwards, on Saturday, October 21st, we've got no sprain, no gain. Kevin is stuck at home with a sprained ankle as the rest of the gang tries to stop a strange jewel thief. Finding Professor X. When Professor Exclamation goes missing, Gretel and Nordal try to find him. And finally, on Saturday, October 28th, there's gonna be Bayou Barb. The Grant Gomez family goes on a bayou vacation where they encounter a local legend. The Great Pillow War. Kevin and Gretel battle it out in a huge pillow fight. So that's it for October, and if you're in the US, then as always, these new episodes will air every Saturday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Pacific on Disney Channel. And now for the last story, it's time for Caleb's Catch of the Week, a top story that I haven't covered on this podcast since episode 3A. Oh boy! I can't believe I have to do this again. I can't believe I haven't moved on from this from the last episode. But I might as well call this a bonus miscellaneous piece of news regarding more mind-numbingly stupid decisions at what used to be Twitter. So with that said, here goes nothing, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you have been waiting for. It's time once again that we go back into the Donald Trump of social media. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going back to chairman and murderer of Twitter, Elon Musk. Now, recently, what's been going on is that Elon Musk, shortly after the rebrand to X, has plans to remove the block feature and the quote retweets button from Twitter X, as well as add audio and video calls and a job search feature, and make a version of Twitter X designed for the modern car screens, meaning that Twitter X will be available on services such as Apple CarPlay when downloaded to a phone, because CarPlay works the same way as an Apple Watch in terms of downloading apps, where you need to pair your iPhone with it in order to get the apps for safe driving on screen. The quote retweets will also only be accessible by going to the three dots at the top of a tweet and selecting View Post Engagements. So that's basically all there is to report. And now, the one thing I would like to say about Elon Musk at this point is, okay, to anybody in charge working at Twitter X who's working for Elon Musk, if you guys just want to fire that absolute joke of a businessman and you just want to revert X back to Twitter, you could have just done that. You could have just gone and just kicked Elon out. You don't have to let him continue to make himself look like an idiot and go all David Zaslav and create some of the worst ideas for a social media platform. I swear to God, I feel like the more that people hear whatever stupid decisions that Elon Musk makes on Twitter, the worse he's actually becoming, and the more that I see him giving us terrible features like this and people are hating it. I have not seen one person on Twitter who is stupid enough to believe that this is an actual good idea. And nobody should think that this is a good idea. This is just one big way for drivers to get themselves crashed into an accident or even killed. It's just as bad as type texting and driving at the same time. This is why we have voice messaging in services like CarPlay, so that people can send text messages while driving safely in today's cars. And knowing Elon Musk, he does not freaking care at all how many drivers he's going to be killing with this decision. And then for the audio and video calls, I really don't get why Elon Musk wants to do this. I mean, it's alright to do this in Apple's FaceTime, as well as Instagram, Facebook Messenger, and even Discord. But now you're really pushing it with this addition to Twitter X. The whole point of Twitter X is to post tweets, make threads, retweet other people's tweets, like tweets, and send text messages either separately or in groups. Why do we need audio and video calls here? It defeats the whole purpose, and now they want to cash in on FaceTime and Discord? I don't get it. I don't see the point of using Twitter anymore if Elon is going to add audio and video calls, and I don't understand the job search feature either, especially through the demo GIF of Coinbase Jobs, which is an untrustworthy crypto service, by the way, because crypto and NFTs are a big scam. And I even remember The Simpsons making a joke about that in a recent episode, Bart's in Jail, from season 33, through a cameo of Bill Cipher from Gravity Falls, voiced again by Alex Hirsch, which is actually pretty funny considering that Bill is a major villain in Gravity Falls, and crypto pretty much belongs to the villains.
Buy crypto, suckers!
But yeah, I do not see the point of a job search feature on Twitter since it defeats the whole purpose too. If you want a good job search website, go to Indeed. Like, this makes no sense. And speaking of which, two other changes that don't make sense that I'm incredibly infuriated by are the removal of the block function and the quote retweets button. What the frog is going on here? I don't understand why Elon plans to get rid of those features, and how are people gonna keep any harassers, scammers, trollers, and unwanted bots off of their space? I don't want to have to set my accounts to private, and I also don't want to have to go to view post engagements to access the quote retweets. I can imagine this is going to make Twitter shut down faster and make me want to escape from this sinking ship altogether. I might as well quote Professor Farnsworth from Futurama at this point.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
It makes zero lick of sense. My god. And what's even worse is that fairly recently, back onto The Simpsons, I watched the season 26 episode, The Musk Who Fell to Earth, and there are some things in it that I like, such as the concept of an electric car with autopilot, but not even that was enough to save that mess of an episode, with Lisa and Homer being out of character and unlikable in there, and even Elon Musk himself with the Simpsons version of himself, cause if you're gonna make a new character or have a self-insert of you in the show, you gotta have the character drawn in the style of Matt Groening and give him a shade of yellow, except if they're a specific race or something, but this type of episode is absolutely not something The Simpsons would ever do, even considering this is from the dark age of the show. Honestly, one of the biggest middle fingers I have ever seen in the show's history. Such a terrible episode. But yeah, all these features being changed to Twitter or X or whatever the frog Elon calls it, yeah, I'm gonna make a vow right now. After all of this, I am announcing that I will not be doing Danville discussion polls on Twitter anymore. If Elon Musk is going to turn Twitter into the next Warner Brothers Discovery with the same mental capacity and ego as David Zaslav, then honestly, I'm not going to do these polls on Twitter anymore. And starting with the new Danville discussion poll for next episode, I'm going to be moving them over to my Tumblr page. In fact, I actually tried a test poll on Tumblr to pick a vehicle, and it got a good number of votes, 21 votes total to be precise, with the winner being the Bullet Nose train at 42.9%. So I'm positive that my polls are going to do as good on Tumblr as on Twitter. And if you want to find me there, my Tumblr handle is the same as on my main Twitter at CalebDirksen2. I can't take any more of this, and I'm probably gonna start packing my bags and jumping off the Twitter train, because honestly, if Elon continues to carry on with something like X for cars, then he deserves to be fired. He deserves it. He definitely deserves it. And he also deserves to be locked in jail and to be fined all his fortunes at this point. Seriously, what is wrong with you, Elon? Do you really have such a poor understanding of the social media platform that you're currently running, Mr. Numbnuts? That's it. I'm wrapping it up. I am wrapping up this episode because honestly, with Elon's stupidity, Twitter is pretty much dead and it's not even worth it anymore. My god, seriously, Elon. What the frog were you thinking? Have fun with your freaking X platform and dancing on Twitter's grave, because I swear to God, I don't think anyone is going to be using it any longer, and people could stop using it and move on to other social media sites, so You better start packing up your bags. And that's all the news that I'm going to be throwing out for right now, so thank you guys so much for listening to this bonus news episode of the Danville Discussion. As for me, you can find me on my Facebook page at Real Caleb Dirksen, on my Twitter, Tumblr, and TikTok pages at Caleb Dirksen2 with the number 2 at the end and all in lowercase, on my alternate Twitter page at Caleb the PNF Guy, on my Instagram pages at Caleb.Dirksen for my main page or at Caleb Flynn Fletcher for my alternate page, on Threads at Caleb.Dirksen, on my DeviantArt page at CalebDirksen20, and on Blue Sky Social at CalebDirksen2.bsky.social, where I'll send you an invite code on any other social media site to let you in. You can also find me on Discord by entering the username Caleb Dirksen, all in one word and all in lowercase. And if you go to the invite link in the description below, it'll also invite you to my Discord server so that you can talk with me about anything, including this podcast or my other content. You can also find me on YouTube, just search for Caleb Dirksen and look for the icon of me as a soldier. And if you want to support my work and get some great rewards at once, which includes getting access to my content before anyone else, including my videos, my podcast episodes, and all that sort of thing, then you can become a patron at patreon.com/Caleb Dirksen. Your support would be just great. As for this podcast, we are available to listen on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Audible, Good Pods, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and the link on iHeartRadio is www.iheart.com/podcast/997100607. So go there and it should take you to the official Danville Discussion page on iHeartRadio, and then you can subscribe over there. Plus, you can also find us on Spotify for podcasters by using your Apple or Android device or going on the web at anchor.fm/Caleb-Dirksen, and it'll take you directly to the Danville Discussion page on Anchor, part of Spotify for podcasters. If you have listened to this episode on Apple Podcasts or any other podcast service, can you go and just rate and review this show? I would much be delighted with that, as long as it's respectful. And if you have listened to this episode as a video on YouTube, then go and press that like button and leave us a little comment with your thoughts on the news that I talked about. You can also share your feedback or ask some questions by sending us an email at danvillediscussion@gmail.com with the words "The Danville Discussion News" in the subject line. And I'll be back next week with the actual episode of Hamster and Gretel, with the opposite of smart and birthday besties. So with that said, thank you guys so much for listening, and until next time, this is Caleb, over and out. This podcast was created strictly and only for entertainment and information purposes. It is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company, Disney Television Animation, or their affiliates. All and any names, images, clips, sounds, or other items related to Phineas and Ferb, Milo Murphy's Law, Hamster and Gretel, and other Disney properties are trademarks and or copyrights of their respective holders. All original content from this podcast is the intellectual property of the Danville Discussion and the host or hosts running the podcast, unless otherwise noted.